Alright, welcome to the NFL playoffs. We're going to be taking a look at our first game here on the NFC. The 49ers taking on the Dallas Cowboys. We'll be looking at stats and everything later on. We're just going to announce the games so far. Alright, in our next game, in our last game in the NFC, we're going to have the Carolina Panthers versus the Green Bay Packers. Surprise victory by the Panthers over the Chicago Bears to make it into the divisional round, and they're going to be playing the number 1 seed, the Green Bay Packers. Alright, moving on to our first game in the AFC, we have the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. The number 1 Chiefs, their first showing in the playoffs so far, and they've got a tough matchup actually, Jacksonville Jaguars. So we'll see who can take that later on as we look into stats. Alright, looking at our last game in the playoffs in the AFC, we got the Buffalo Bills going up against the Vegas Raiders. And the Buffalo Bills, being the number 1 seed throughout majority of the season, get taken over by the Kansas City Chiefs late in the season to become the number 2 seed. Alright, looking at the stats this season, we're going to start with Trey Lance on the San Francisco 49ers, 32 touchdowns, 20 interceptions, just shy of 4,000 yards. Elijah Mitchell, though, the real star here, just shy of 1,500 yards. Great amount of touchdowns. He definitely paved the way. Niners didn't have a 1,000-yard receiver this year, but George Kittle and Deebo Samuel definitely led the way. Sacks this year, Nick Bosa, even though he was hurt majority of the year, still had the 10 sacks, and Jarquiski Tart leads the league in interceptions with 13. Next, we're looking at the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott. 42 touchdowns to 28 interceptions. Ezekiel Elliott second in rushing behind Derrick Henry, who was number 1, with 21 touchdowns from Elliott. They also had 2 1,000-yard receivers with CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup, as CeeDee Lamb led with Schultz with 13 touchdowns this season. Sacks-wise, you got Micah, who's leading the way, 14 sacks, as they have a tough secondary as well, all being great individuals. Next, we have Sam Darnold, who did not have a very good season. 27 touchdowns, 26 interceptions. The real star here, Christian McCaffrey, he is their power horse, he's their workhorse, he's everything. They as well didn't have a 1,000-yard receiver like the 49ers, but still, more is going to help their team in this playoff game, I believe so. Brian Burns did not have a very good year this year as well, as he's the leading rusher, or leading sacker on this team with 7. And defensively, they got a good amount of pay. Next, we have Aaron Rodgers, who's off to a great season. 33 touchdowns, only the 18 interceptions. Aaron Jones, a 1,000-yard rusher on 13 touchdowns. They have, Joshua Degora, I've never heard of him, but he is they're only a 1,000-yard receiver out of all their weapons on their team. Sacks, they had a pretty good year. Rashad Gary's going to lead the way with 12 interceptions. Adrian Amos, Jair Alexander, both helped this defense with some turnovers. Next, we have the number 1 seed, Patrick Mahomes, the Kansas City Chiefs, 61 touchdowns. Enough said there. Rushing wise, they didn't have a 1,000-yard receiver, but they had 3 1,000-yard receivers with 19 touchdowns from Mecole Hardman. Insane year from him. On defense, they had a pretty good sack year. Melvin Ingram getting 16 sacks. He's actually the leading sack leader in all of the playoffs so far. And Justin Reed's going to lead this team in interceptions with 8. Next, you got Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars, 43-31. He's off to actually a pretty good year. Those interceptions could slow down, but they as well did not have a 1,000-yard rusher this season, but they had 2 1,000-yard receivers with DeAndre Hopkins and Christian Kirk. Good amount of touchdowns from that set of receivers as well, as they traded good amount this season there, and they are off to a great ending really to the season with the sacks there. And interceptions, could use a little bit of work. They are still getting a lot of interceptions, but I think that pass rush is going to have to save them in this game. Next, we got Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. He had a great season, 39 touchdowns there. Seeing that Devin Singletary as well, great season, 1,000-yard rusher, just the 10 touchdowns. Stephon Diggs, though, he hit 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns, tied with Dawson Knox. Gabriel Davis is going to lead the team in touchdowns with 11, though, this season. Defensive-wise, they did not have a good year. Buffalo Bills, their leading sack is Von Miller with only 7, definitely showing his age. But in the interception, the secondary, Mike Hyde led the way. Now we have Derek Carr and the Vegas Raiders with the 24 touchdowns. He had a slow season, but Josh Jacobs had the complete opposite as he had 15 touchdowns and just shy of 1,300 yards. Darren Waller is going to lead them in receiving yards this year with almost 1,300 receiving yards, and the 9 touchdowns go with it. Defensively, their sack leader is going to be Chandler Jones, the former Cardinal. He's going to have 13 sacks this year, and interceptions as well is going to be Rock Ya-Sin with 8. Surprise star there. Alright, we're going to be looking first at the AFC side, and the number 1 seed Kansas City Chiefs going up against the number 6 Jacksonville Jaguars, and we have the Kansas City Chiefs going to your AFC Conference Championship. Pat Mahomes, just a freak this year. 61 touchdowns, and don't get me wrong, Trevor Lawrence had a great year, but Pat Mahomes, you have to compete with a man like that and his 3 1,000-yard receivers. No way. I have Kansas City beating Jacksonville in that game. Next, I'm going to move on to Buffalo and the Raiders. I think this is going to be a close game. I do. I'm looking at the seeding, number 2 versus number 5 there. I'm thinking the Raiders have a chance, and they have a big chance. It's going to be a close game. I think it's going to come down to the wire, though. Derek Carr did not have a great season, so that is why I'm going to go with Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. We're going to remain on the AFC side and say the Kansas City Chiefs are going up against the Buffalo Bills in the Conference Championship. I'm taking Kansas City in that department. Again, Pat Mahomes, what a freak. I don't need to say much more. We're going to move on to the NFC now and start off with Green Bay, the number 1 seed, going up against the number 4 seed, the Carolina Panthers. And we have Green Bay. That tight end, he came out of nowhere to me. I thought Devontae Adams would be a freak, but that Joshua tight end seems to be their biggest threat. And I have Green Bay just due to the fact Sam Darnold, well, he's Sam Darnold. Defensively, Brian Burns isn't getting to the quarterback. I don't think any of that line is really getting to the quarterback, and you give Aaron Rodgers too much time, he'll just pick on you all game. Then we have the Dallas Cowboys going up against the San Francisco 49ers. This is going to be a game. This is going to be a hell of a game, and this is my favorite game. It's the closest 2 seedings out of the whole playoffs, the number 2 versus the number 3 seed, and I'm going with San Fran. That's it. Enough said. Dallas sucks. I'm coming for Dallas. 49ers versus Green Bay. Sorry, Green Bay, I'm picking you off. Turk Whiskey Tart. We're going all the way. We're going against Pat Mahomes, and we're making him throw about 6 interceptions that game. That's it. 49ers win the Super Bowl. Sorry, guys. Better luck next year.